Hi everybody, welcome to Yogacises. I have Devaya Levine here. I've met him in a group, and I'm glad that he has time and availability to be on for this interview. And we'll let him introduce himself and tell us where you're from. Well, I'll start. I'm from New York. I'm in the U.S. and you can share where you're from and.
My name's Bari. They call me Devaya, and I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and I'm naturalized. I have double citizenship. I live in Costa Rica since 1991.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, you teach yoga, and how did your yoga journey begin?
Um, well, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I always wanted to travel, and so all my friends were Latin, and one of my friends told me that I should go check out Costa Rica, so I came here to do graduate studies. I have my master's in Hispanic linguistics, and in the journey of doing my graduate studies, a little bit of them in Costa Rica, I met this tour guide who invited us to meditate, and he was a Zen meditator, and he invited us to meditate, and I was totally scared. But after two breaths, I saw myself with my fingers in the air, and I told him about my experience, and he basically fed me this idea of yoga. And then when I went back home to where I was studying in Massachusetts at UMass, I realized there was yoga everywhere. And I took a Kundalini yoga class, and I didn't really like the Kundalini yoga class, but I loved the Gong meditation. It was just such clarity. And when I came home to my living situation, it was either continue yoga or change my life. But it seeded something in me, and and I finished my studies, and I got a great job in upstate New York in Skidmore College. I was director of the language lab, and I went back to Costa Rica in 1990 to see if I really liked it. And in Skidmore, I met my yoga teacher, Judy Joy Weil, and she's the one that's totally influenced me. And I'm certified in Kripalu Yoga since 1991, and that's when I went to go live permanently in Costa Rica. In the
Wow.
meantime, because the Kripalu Yoga wasn't enough, and I wasn't aware of my mental and emotional state of being until I was pretty much in the jungle all alone, because there wasn't any telephone, or we had just gotten electricity. Um, I started to explore the yoga to find other ways to liberate myself. Yoga is the science of self-liberation. And in the course of all that, by 1998, I think I was practicing Devaya Yoga and teaching Devaya Yoga, which is we use color, and we imagine breathing a color, and we use sound and mudras with precise alignment of the postures from the inside out. And I've had a trademark yoga and Devaya Yoga since 2008. And that's the story.
Wow, impressive journey. And when we were emailing back and forth, you mentioned that you have a book that's out on Amazon. So tell us about your book.
The book is Devaya Yoga, the yoga of color and sound, and it's apt for everybody. Somebody who's never even thought of yoga, and the yoga practitioner. And what makes Devaya Yoga completely unique is the use of color, the color scheme, which will, in the future, it's becoming a big thing. Even here in Costa Rica, they have food categorized with color and how it heals you with the color, or creates more greater balance within you. So that's a big key, is the color, and it's super easy to use, very user friendly, and it's also written on the hypothesis that if we visualize everything, even if we can't physically do an exercise, if we're visualizing it, chanting the sound and being the color and the mudra, we get all the same benefits as though we were doing the yoga practice.
Okay, speaking of colors, so how would you approach somebody um, helping them with who are colorblind? how would you go about doing it?
Colorblind? Never thought of that one. I don't know, because they have a whole different way of approaching the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it also be a texture for them. I don't know how. Maybe I don't. I've never met anybody who's colorblind, but perhaps somebody who's colorblind perceives the color of the texture, not
Mm.
necessarily a visualization as we do with the rods of the eyes. No, maybe for them it's a texture or a sensation, a body sensation.
Oh, okay, because I've been seeing some of these new technologies that are coming out for like those glasses. Like, you know, a lot of these people, they've never seen color before, and then they put on those glasses and they're able to see the world, a colorful world, which is very interesting. Maybe to make that, you know, maybe they could try that and then be able to work with the colors and the theme that you're working with.
I have no all the new technology living out here. I have like no idea, which is a good thing. Keeps me
Mm.
safe.
No, I've been really into how does color work with what you're doing? Like, is it like a yoga practice into color
Yeah,
or
yeah.
drawing?
Well, when we're breathing, usually when we start a meditation, I'll begin with visualizing, imagine breathing a red color, so we connect with planet Earth and feel security. I mean, each color has its positive and its negative. If I'm feeling too red, I could be really angry. But generally speaking, a nice earth tone red is gonna ground us or create a sense of safety or inner peace. Because for me, that's what grounding is just feeling safe, inner peace. And so just a hypothesis. I haven't proven it, but when we prana is or the universal force that keeps us alive, that we breathe, that connects us all, that in yoga is known as prana, and in Tai Chi or Chinese is known as Chi, in Japanese Reiki is known as Ki. For me, I believe that when we add the color dimension to a breathing exercise, we make the prana like more palpable, more touchable, more physical, because the prana becomes physical when it comes in contact with electricity. And we as human beings, you know, this earth suit is full of electricity where each cell is filled with a proton, a neutron, and an electron. So I feel that when we add a color to it, it brings us more into the present because we're focused on a color and we're breathing. And the more we can be brought into the present, the more we can be aware of the subconscious mind and the automatic pilot that really creates all our suffering, and start connecting and growing, you know, neuroplasticity of the conscious mind. And eventually, if we go into automatic pilot, we're living in a conscious state, so it's not a problem. That's the goal.
Wow, okay. That's one way to look at colors. How would this have anything to relate to what you're doing in terms of drawing like mandalas, depending on how you pronounce it, and then like do the coloring books? How does that, is
For
that,
sure, of course it does. It's all a grounding and an embodying experience. Now, if I'm concentrating on a mandala of the yantra of the heart chakra, you know, and I'm coloring it green, and especially if it's really pretty green, I think we just become one with the color as well, and we just become absorbed in it. And then, you know, thinking about green and eating greens, when we're hungry from the Ayurvedic point of view, we're looking for sun source. And so, because we don't create photosynthesis, so if I'm eating a green leaf, it's more available to the sun. It's more sattvic or peaceful, or yeah, peaceful, you know, of a calm nature that I'm ingesting into this bodysuit. And so, even if I were coloring it, I think we bring in a lot of the same dimensions, the same experiences or qualities.
that's awesome. That's really cool. I've never, well, I mean, I do meditation and yoga, you know, the chakra balance and everything, you know, they just do visualize different colors, but I've never really like heard of like a specific um name for this approach specifically, just only focus on colors?
I think they call it chromotherapy.
Mm. I'm sorry, say that again. What therapy?
They call it chromotherapy.
Chromotherapy. Huh.
Healing with colors, or I don't really like the word healing, because in the end, we're just a machine, and so everything is just it's to help us find balance within.
Mhm.
So color is just another way for the body to balance itself. Because if we're going to compare ourselves to a car, if we could all feed ourselves better, then even the practice of yoga, chromotherapy, or visiting with a friend would be much more palpable and healing experience. Because we're a machine, we're not going to put diesel in a gas-ridden car, but we put all sorts of Coca-Cola and Diet Coke and and then even the extreme organic power bar, which is probably just as lethal as a Diet Coke because it's all pre-manufactured. And the cells of the body really don't know what to do with all that food. And that's probably why we have a large increase in diseases at a much younger age.
And the fact that they make those things taste so good that our brain is like, "Ooh, it tastes good," and then we forget, especially people don't have the knowledge behind why they're bad, and they'll continue to eat it because it feeds the brain, like the hormones are saying, "Ooh, this is good, I want more," helps with emotions and stuff like that. But honestly, just it's not.
Well, and then also the coloring of the packaging. The coloring of the packaging is, when you think about it, everything is color all around us. What catches our attention when we're going shopping is the coloring of the packaging. What causes our attention on the telephone screen or on the smart TV, the dynamics of what the coloring. Color is everywhere, and infusing our yoga practice with color, what do my students say? Just brings in the rainbow of light. It just is something else to ground our mind. The practice or the discipline of yoga it's a discipline. It's an exercise, so that when I'm done practicing on the mat and I go into real life, I become more aware of my thought patterns, and that allows me to change, to expand into truly who I am, instead of allowing these patterns to control me. Just like the food. Now I can become more aware that, wow, maybe that food didn't sit well, even though they advertised how good it was for me. Especially in the United States, you guys are overridden with advertisement every other second, and everything tells us what's good. If I take this, then I'll be whole. But it all depends on how we feed ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. Food, who we speak with, who we hang out with, and how we use our physical body. I'll tell you something else. 4 years ago, my son had his leg amputated. And if it weren't for this practice of yoga that I have, who knows where any of us would be. And I don't spend hours on the mat because I live a real life. I'm a mother, and I work. I'm a professional housewife now. So I also believe in they can be short but consistent exercises. Like I love, one of my favorites is what I think that really helped me in this whole process of my son healing, and still in my process of healing, is left nostril breathing, just for 3 minutes. And we're breathing in a color as well, and we chant a little mantra, and everything that's short and sweet, because really in the Occident, we don't have a very long attention span, and we're not used to sitting for any length of time either. And so why are we forcing ourselves to be who we're not as well? And so this practice, this Devaya yoga, really helped me to, I think, to embrace all of who I am and help others embrace themselves.
Well, I'm glad that is helping your son to, you know,
Yeah, he's great. It's amazing. Thank God.
thank
Yeah,
you.
he has a great attitude. I can only say it's because he was brought up in a yoga environment. He doesn't practice yoga. He says he's thinking about it, but he doesn't practice yoga. But I just, he grew up in a pretty healthy environment.
That's good. So for nutrition, like, people say, okay, focus in one area. We're going to do, don't get, sidetracked with everything else, but you really can't isolate nutrition when it comes to yoga. Like, you cannot, you know what I mean? I think that's how I think
Well,
of
I think we become more aware. Well, the physical practice of yoga, according to those sutras or Patanjali sutras, sutra meaning a seed, is we get the first idea is to get in touch with the physical body, which is called the Annamaya Kosha. And so the more we're in touch with our physical body through the practice of yoga, even if it's only just going there to do sun salutes, because I heard it was a cool thing to do or something, all of a sudden I'll become more body aware of how different foods are affecting me. And so, yeah, I'll become more sensitized because we're vibrating faster. We're moving all the cells in our body faster. We're not as dense. So I'm looking for food that will sit, but that'll help me feel better.
And
That makes
also, I think the more you practice yoga, the more you're cleansed, the more you detox, and the more you, like, sometimes once the negative impacting food, you just kind of not drawn to it anymore, right? It's almost like you just naturally don't want it anymore.
Well, my students I have a yoga school with Yoga Alliance, and we're doing a teacher training right now. We're finishing it up, and in my teacher trainings, I prefer that they only come with water, because we're not really aware of the subtle effects of sugar. And yeah, this yoga practice, you want to feel better, but still, sugar is a highly addictive food. And so somebody shared the other day of with the yoga practice, they became aware of how much they geared their day around their next cookie or candy. Super fit person. She does pole dancing, aerial yoga, but she didn't even realize how crazy she was with sugar. And then she became aware of how sugar was running her life. And then she stopped eating as much sugar, but with a lot of discipline. It wasn't like, hey, I'm doing yoga, I'm not going to eat any more sugar. Because these are our cravings, and when we're children as well, it's usually a reward. And so somehow it's related to love and being loved. And so she said that with the elimination of sugar, she still has it, but barely. Her anxiety attacks and she called them phobias or all her anxieties, all her panic attacks, she gears them to just drinking a juice, even if it's a natural juice or a store-bought juice. So yeah, the yoga gives us the awareness, and probably the discipline, because we're practicing yoga every day and we want to feel better. But it's still a discipline. We still have to work at it. It's not like, hey, turning on a light switch. Or maybe for some people it is. I can't define their experience. But I
Also,
still, yeah.
sorry. Once you start eating clean, and then all of a sudden, if you do, like, let's just say, go out to eat, or somebody gives you something that's not so healthy, and you definitely know your body tells you,
Yeah.
dude, I shouldn't be eating that because I'm, suffering after later on.
And it can be up to 3 days later. And so, and because nutrition is a big part of the teacher trainings. We are so attached to our food. Everybody gets so offended, and that has nothing to do with anything personally. I'm just observing the personality, probably, reading the doshas, and I just make a recommendation so that they feel better within the walls of their body. I mean, that's why I eat a certain way, so I feel better in my body, so that my emotions are more even. So I feel in a state of peace, sattvic. But I have tons of cravings. When I'm done with the interview, I'm going to go to a market and buy vegetables. And they have all sorts of food that I have to avoid because I'll be super sick if I eat it. But I'd rather feel good. I'd rather love myself. Isn't that's one of the 8 limbs of yoga is ahimsa. How can I love myself? They label it as nonviolence, but I turn it around and how can I love myself? How can I feel in a good space? Isn't that what we're all looking for? Whether we have $1 million or like barely paying the rent or sleeping in a shoebox, if I can, if I can feel good in my body, it will make every experience much better. A little
That's
bit
so true.
exaggerated, that's how it is.
Everybody needs to think like that, for sure. Speak like, what's your? Can you give an example of like from morning to evening before you go to bed? What's your meals like a typical meal?
Well, I do astrology. I do medical astrology. I do personality birth types according to our signs because each planet is an organ. So I'm extremely sensitive signs. So I look at that as well. But for me, in the morning, I wake up and have like warm glass of water because if I have lemon water, it'll make a mess for me. So things that are like recommended and work for, are great. I had to learn, thank God for the practice of yoga and believing in myself that, whoop, this food isn't for me or that supplement's not for me. So in the morning, I wake up and I have a warm water and I do my yoga practice, which can vary between 10 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. It depends, on a real life day. And then I'll have probably fruit. I eat gluten. I make my own bread with very little yeast and sugar. And I put oatmeal in it. I feel like the oatmeal grounds out the bread. And so I'll just have some bread and fruit or salad. And then I go and do my day, and at lunchtime, I'm more prone to a soup or something. I eat basmati white rice and, I don't know, potatoes and sweet potato and cassava fruit, I think, yucca. And then the night, I do eat animal. I do eat animal. I've been a vegan for 30 years, and 3 years ago, maybe as part of whatever it was with my son's recovery, I started eating free-range chicken breast. And sometimes I'll eat some chicken breast. Otherwise, I digest tofu much better than any bean. I don't really digest beans. Thank God I digest tofu. And when I buy like the non-GMO tofu, and I eat really, really simple, lots of greens. And I don't eat too many salads because in this moment right now, I digest them well. Sometimes raw foods are really hard to digest. They can create a lot of gas and a lot of mental confusion. When we're at it, obviously, if I'm at a diet of McDonald's, a salad is going to be great. So it all depends on our vibration. I eat salads, but for me, I digest food much better if I like drop it in a wok or something, and then eat. And then what? I go to work, and in the evening I'll probably breathe before I go to bed, left nostril breathing. But I really live I live an active life. Um, my family needs me, and so how much time do I spend in my personal practice, or how much do I bring my practice into the real world?
Yeah, that's so true. A lot to consider, right? For you said the left nostril breathing. For those that don't understand the reason behind alternating nostril breathing, or only left or right, why do
The left nostril will cool us down. It's connected with the ganglia on the left nostril will connect to the right hemisphere, which is the creative side of the body, the intuitive side of the body. And so we're pulling in, we're moving away from the logical, subconscious, automatic pilot mind into the creative, into the source itself, into the creative mind. Um, I started that really when I was 44. I had psoriasis or eczema all over my body as part of probably perimenopause and everything else. And I was just reading about different breathing techniques. And it's called Yogi Bhajan uses it. I've I I modified it to serve to serve what I'm doing. And we put our right index finger and we cover up the right nostril and we breathe our eyes to look between the eyebrows. And when we look between the eyebrows, we're actually massaging the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is a master gland of the body. It's going to balance my endocrine or my hormonal system. And we have a mantra. It's happy am I, healthy am I, whole am I when we inhale. And it's always recommended to pause between breaths, because that's really when we touch spirit, and when we disconnect from the subconscious mind or the automatic pilot. And then we're exhaling with the emphasis on I am happy. I am healthy. I am whole. And after 6 months of doing that, all my eczema went away. And I was watching my diet the whole time, because what comes in our body has to come out one way or another. So I always looked at eczema was better than a bleeding ulcer or something. There's always a positive side. And so when we're connecting, we're boosting our immune system. We're finding the happy creative side of who we really are. We've consumed so many energies from beyond us, just from 3 months in the womb up to those first 7 years of life. We don't have an energy field, and so we're not really aware of really who we are until we have a kind of discipline that comes from the East, whether it's a practice of breath work, of Zen meditation, or Qigong, or Tai Chi, or yoga. Those are disciplines, those are sciences to help us both return to our natural state of being,
Wow, that's amazing. I'm sorry, my baby just was waking up and she's
There you
trying.
go. My baby's 26.
I'm sorry, say that again.
My baby is 26.
Oh, she's 20 months. She's
Oh,
20 months.
felicidades, Pan. You got your hands full.
Yeah. What else? I,
Well, I recommend 3-part breath, because you can do that anywhere. My whole thing is, how can I take yoga off the mat and be it in life? And if we're at a red light, you're breastfeeding, we can breathe and fill the 3 compartments of the lung with breath, truly oxygenate ourselves. And just that act in itself usually regenerates and creates great clarity within our mind, and brings us back into the most peaceful state we can be in. I mean, if your daughter's has a lot of gas or is crying a lot and a whole new experience, honestly speaking, how peaceful can we be? It's the mask that we put on, and we can wear a better mask if we're breathing a 3-part breath, breathing in the nose, filling the belly, the ribs, and the chest with breath. Being
when I
aware that when, oh, my baby's crying, and all of a sudden I find myself breathing in my chest and not in my belly, and then I can breathe in my belly, and I can better attend my child.
when I first started yoga, I was just not even aware that sometimes I would just stop breathing, especially like when I'm thinking or when I'm focused or anxious or something, and then I would get headaches without even knowing why, because I wasn't aware that I would just stop breathing. Actually, when I first met my husband, he would be like, breathe, breathe, breathe. He just constantly reminding me to breathe. And then once he, with his help, like reminding me, and then with increasing practice of yoga, I'm able to be more aware of being the present and breathe. And that's like so important, because we need to breathe to survive, right? To live.
Well, actually, the body, because it's part of the autonomic nervous system. We don't even think about breathing or digesting. It's just that part of our survival. In fact, I'm going to hold my breath, and go ahead, hold your breath, because you're going to pass out. You're going to breathe again anyways. And so can I bring conscious attention to the breath and oxygenate all of me? It's incredible how just the energy levels will increase. And besides giving birth, this is a nice breathing experience.
Um, so, oh yeah, your book. In the description at the end, I'll add that link so listeners can check out your book and your websites and how they
Thank
can
you.
contact you. So how can they reach you, like with your
They can
website?
reach me. It's better right now on I can send you my link, my little Facebook page link, or my email. My web page is a little bit out of date. I'm working on launching my web page again. It's
Okay.
outdated. So I can. It's better that I send you my email. You have my email, no?
Hmm.
And I can send you my Devaya Facebook link. That's the best
Okay.
way to get in touch with me.
All right, great. And then I'll post that there. So after they listen and then they have questions or they want to follow you, then they can reach out to you that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
That's the
so
whole
much,
idea. The
Pam.
more
Thank you so much
people
for
that
your
I
time.
can, this is my way of creating peace on earth for us to find our sovereignty. Because Devaya Yoga, maybe it's everything all used together. There's not much time to think while we're in a yoga class. A lot of yoga classes are automatic pilot. They're just a vinyasa flow here in this country. And I think in the States it's changed a lot. And so we're just doing a lot of exercise, and sometimes we're not even aware if we're breathing in the class. And this is super powerful, and it allows us to be. And the more that I can be me, the more I think the more happy I am, the more I'm in peace, and that's my way of creating peace on earth.
That's great. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Pan. I'm gonna send you my email, my Devaya page link.
Okay, great. Yes.
Thank you
And
very much, Pan.
thank you. Thank you. Let's take. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna